All right. A new chapter begins. First time solo. See how bad this goes.
I just was playing because I love the game. And it's scary to me.
It's really easy for the game to become a job.
Below 6 in his hands, whistle his mouth.
Man, kids out there playing the game, staying out of trouble, competing. I love it.
Well, as you can see, there is only one person here, or as you can hear, there is only one voice. Some changes are happening with the Quick Six. We apologize. I apologize for how long it has been. We have some catching up to do and some updating. So we're going to go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. TK's been fired. I couldn't put up with his crap anymore. He had reached a point where he was getting a little too big for his britches and felt he needed more quote unquote creative control. He needed to drive the narrative, et cetera, et cetera. And the fact of the matter is, he wouldn't do anything. He was lazy, I'm just kidding. TK did not get fired. I begged, barred, and pled for us to be able to find a way to continue what we had been doing for the past few years. But the fact of the matter is, TK is a superstar. He has always had a career that was going to be strapped to a rocket ship. And it was just a matter of time before he graduated to something that was much more fitting to his capabilities and his expertise. And he has been named the quarterback's coach at Vanderbilt University, which means on to bigger and better things. And again, there is no qualm, discourse, fight, disagreement between me and TK. He is truly one of my best friends, and I wish him absolutely nothing but the best. We tried, we fought, we tried to get as creative as we could to figure out a way to make this work in a world where he's an SEC position coach. And the harsh reality was that with the HR aspect and recruiting, dead periods, not dead periods, and the intricacies of that world, Vanderbilt just felt that it was going to put him in situations that potentially could cause him to have to self-report and slow some things down, create more negative situations from the admin side. And, for me, I'm like, hey, this is a cool insight. This brings a whole different perspective to our conversations. And for anybody that's been listening for the last few years, even when TK was there first time around, we were very limited in the amount of episodes we could do because we felt like everything that we wanted to talk about, we needed to clear. And with the amount of work that he's going to be doing as the quarterback coach, it was just one of those situations where no matter how bad we wanted it logistically, realistically, it just wasn't something that was going to be able to play itself out in the format that we have done for the past 4 years, however long it's been. So, we're pivoting. The Quick Six is pivoting. The approach now is something that is relatively liquid. I have some ideas, some things that I want to try out. TK is not gone forever. We will have situations where he's going to come back, rejoin us, specific conversations I would like to have with him that I think are beneficial for the audience and beneficial for me, conversations that I want to bring to him that I think could be beneficial for anybody that's in the college game that might listen, know TK as his network grows within that realm of coaching. And so there's still going to be some of that dialogue, but more so what it's going to be is until I find something that is a little bit different that I think can consistently work, it's going to be me. I have enjoyed every day of doing this for the past few years, and I want to continue to do it. All 7 people that listen to this and have ever reached out or talked to me or, had anything to say about, hey, caught that last episode. First off, thank you. That's awesome. Never really thought anybody cared. First time we started doing this, I used it. I drove views and streams by telling my kids they could get extra credit if they showed me that they had listened to all of them. Judge me however you want. I'm just being honest. So I never really thought or fathomed anybody really taking hold of this. So the few people that have absolutely awesome. And now, because of where we are, there's a little bit of responsibility that falls on you guys. There's some things that I'm going to ask to drive these conversations in a direction that you have much more input. So the Twitter DMs, the Instagram DMs, the Facebook messages, the text for those that I know personally, reach out, stay in touch. Let me know what you want to hear talked about. Let me know who you think could be a good periodic like guest to bring on every other episode. I do want to have people on, but I don't want there to be a reliance factor where I'm trying to line people up every week to talk about this or to talk about that. I want to be able to bring you guys consistent content, but also have an opportunity and a platform for people in the profession in the state of Texas, coming up through the college ranks, in the professional ranks, in, you know, all over the country, to have conversations so we can start to bring to light maybe some questions and answers that come from different states that can help or bring new issues to light that might be coming down the pipe for a coach in a different region that would never expect it. So there is going to be a little bit of that guest dialogue and atmosphere, but primarily I'm going to be sitting here answering the questions that you guys tell me you have, the topics that you want to hear discussed. And also something that I'm really excited to do is I want, if there's, because I know that they exist. I know they exist because they exist for me. And I want to create a place where you guys that have these stories that absolutely grind your gears, horrible interactions, amazing interactions, insane parents, the best parents, all of these stories that you feel like you don't want to or feel like you can share, send them to me. I will read them as Joe Schmo Anonymous and get them out there with the world and share what your perspective is on it, and then be able to give my feedback on it and continue to, again, use other people's experiences to grow and teach and connect coaches. Because at the end of the day, that's what this conversation was always supposed to be about. So a little bit of a change, a big change, I guess. Excited about what it's going to look like. Excited for this new direction. It is completely different. It is out of the comfort zone of what we have built, but it's going to be great, and I'm pumped for it. With all that being said, there are some things that I would love to talk about. I know it has been months since you have heard from us. And anybody that's still listening, again, thank you. We apologize that I am so pumped for TK. He is a superstar. It was one of those things that I think I held on to the what if 1%, that we might be able to work something out a little too long before I really started to dig my teeth into creating a new plan and a new direction, and just moving forward and trying something different. But here we are, we've made it. And so this version of the Quick Six is going to be awesome, but it is going to be one where I am truly looking at you guys like, hey, what do you want to hear? What do you want us to talk about? Tell me your stories, tell me your questions, tell me your concerns, tell me who you want me to talk to. Who do you think would be good at this? So make sure, again, follow on Twitter, follow on Instagram, follow on Facebook, me or the Quick Six. Reach out, message. I will respond. I promise, because this is going to be as interactive as possible, because I need all the help that I can get, because clearly I'm not very good at this. Jumping into the things that I wanted to talk about. I have said this before. I've said it for years. It is something I heard Coach Briles say at practice, in meetings, at clinics, in conversations, just casually in hotel lobbies with coaches. And it's something that it's reoccurring. It keeps coming up. And I had this conversation with my two coordinators yesterday, literally sitting in the field house where we're just getting into the jump start of track season. Our guys are fired up. Our staff is fired up, and the kids are fired up. We're getting super competitive. I don't know how fast we are, but what I do know is that we've created an environment where everybody's excited about the potential to go compete. And in that, we start talking about coaches and coaching staffs and what's it going to look like when you go to a track meet. Yes, we are worried about our kids and making sure that we're competing at a top level, but you're evaluating. Because the vast majority of the time when you go to track meets, it is your area. It's not necessarily your district or your conference that you compete against, but it's the surrounding areas. It's the coaches that you will get a kid from or send a kid to, or that you're playing in junior high or in non-district, non-conference. So you're at these places, at these track meets, and you're getting to see them up close and personal, interact with their athletes, how they're moving through the competition environment, as opposed to a basketball game or a football game or a baseball game where you're on opposite sides of the field, you're on opposite ends of the court, and you're not you don't get the chance to observe the way that they move. And through that conversation with my coordinators, we just kept talking about the movement and the motion. And one thing Coach Browse always said was motion causes emotion, and that's good or bad, right? Your body language isn't just your posture; it's your movement, it's your motion. And my wife she sees it all the time. I talk with my hands, I talk with my shoulders, I talk with my elbows. Yes, I wear my emotions on my sleeve, but all my entire body, all those motions tie into it. And what you're expressing through that is it's channeled into the kids, and what's the feedback that you're getting. And it drives me nuts because, to be completely honest, you see way more stagnant, right? You see way more standing around, sitting around. Hey son, make sure that you're over there. I'll be here, but you're over there. And as I've gotten more comfortable and confident and more experienced in this AD role, I use track meets to evaluate talent and coaching talent. Yes, you get to see the kids run and compete, and that's freaking awesome. But I genuinely use it to see, what does this guy do? There have been countless times where I have said, that's a team I would play in non-district, because they go to a track meet and their entire coaching staff never gets out of a lawn chair. Because I know that they have a channel in their brain that says, in my coaching world, I have what's important to me and what's not important to me. This is the way that I treat things that are not important to me. And if you are doing that within our profession, you're shortchanging the kids. And I know that there's going to be something I can get a leg up on you on, whether it's an off season or it's an in-game adjustment. I truly believe that. And I'm using it to, if I've got a need that I need to fill on staff, I need to go talk to that person. Look at how they move. Look at how is track their favorite? I don't know. But right now it looks like it because of the way that they're moving, the way that they're operating, the way that they're coaching. Is this group stagnant? Is this group monotone? Is this group relationally super interactive with the kids? No. Do they seem motivated? No. Are they last ones here, first ones out? The answer is yes. I'm looking for a way to get them on our schedule. I'm just being honest, because I think I think track is the ultimate test. And again, this is from somebody that didn't take track serious in high school. I had to learn the hard way. I had to learn from my mistakes and other people's successes on what I missed out on from a value standpoint. But now that I've learned that lesson, I'll never backtrack. So whenever it comes to the vast majority of people that are listening to this, you guys are football coaches, and football that's it, right? That's our thing. But the number of coaches at the high school ranks that are just coaching football is very, very short. It's everybody's doing a second, sometimes third sport, and in the really small schools, a fourth sport. So how you treat those is going to tell me how you're going to treat certain aspects of your professional life, your personal life, and things of those nature. Right, wrong, or indifferent. You can tell me that I'm overthinking it. You can tell me that I'm putting too much stock in it. But way more often has this thought process and theory paid off in the good than come back to bite me. I think that it's an opportunity for us to truly prove and practice what we preach, because we tell kids some simulation of how you do anything, how you do everything, right? Kaz Kazadi beat that over our head. I believe it was Aristotle. And this is an opportunity for us to practice what we preach. If I'm going to spend this much time and have this high expectation for a kid in the fall about his preparation, about his focus, about his effort, about his execution, and then we're going to get to the spring, and maybe that spring sport, whether it's baseball or track or soccer, maybe that's their love, and they play football because it's fun and their friends do it, but they love this other thing. Well, how can I practice what I preach, support that, uplift that, and drive the competitive environment in a positive direction? And I think the apathy, because of the coaching shortage and the educational shortage, the allowance of absolute bare minimum is mind-blowing. I haven't had to, but I would truly rather coach a man down than with an anchor. Right? I don't need somebody that's just a warm body. I need somebody that's all in on the direction, the culture, the environment, and the path that we're on. If you're not willing to do that, then I can't trust you. And track is an awesome opportunity for us to put our kids in uncomfortable situations of competition and see how they respond. And continue to drive home the fact that this is a process-oriented business. You cannot get caught up in the results. Nothing drives me more crazy when a kid says, "Oh, I didn't win. I didn't do good. So-and-so beat me," because we don't care about any of that. We put you here because you belong. Point blank, period. Don't question that. Now, invest in this moment so in a week, you're better. And in 2 weeks, you're better. And we grow and we're committed to the process. Do not get caught up in how you look, who's here, where you finish. Do we want to win? Of course we want to win. Of course we want to go out there and dominate our competition. But that domination may not always look like a gold medal. Sometimes it looks like I crossed the finish line and somebody may have beat me, but they're laying on the ground, gasping for air and woe is me and flailing their arms around. And I'm going to stand here. And I'm going to breathe heavy, but I'm going to look you straight in the eye. I'm not going to bend over. I don't care what the science says. I'm going to stand here and say, the rep didn't win. I'm ready for more if I need to be. That's what we're building through our kids. And we're doing it through a slightly different approach than I've done in the past, but it's working and it's fun and the kids are competing. And all of that ties into the fact that we're creating that environment through the motion and emotion that we create. So as you move through the spring, your second, your third sport, keep in mind, man, how you do anything is how you do everything. We say it to kids all the time. Make sure that we are operating that way on the daily in an environment that the kids know, oh, that's our offensive coordinator. That's our defense. They love football, man. They played in the Big Ten, this, that, and the other. But look at how they're treating coaching triple jump. Look at how they're treating coaching the 800. This is awesome. I want to go compete for that guy. I want to continue to sell out for the vision that he's created for us. For those in other states, the few and far between that are in other states, we are on the back end. We're just at a month removed from UIL realignment, where every 2 years they shake up districts and conferences and big school, small school cutoffs and things of that nature. And I think one thing that's really interesting is there are still teams that are looking for games, because it's dictated off of how many district games that you're going to play. Are you going to need 3 non-district, 4 non-district, 5 non-district, sometimes 6, because you're in a 5-team district and you only get 4 district games and you're allowed to play 10 games. This realignment has been interesting to me because there's been a little bit more movement, I think, from traditionally small schools up as they grow, the Metroplex and the metropolitan areas, the greater Houston, those things. Some of these schools are growing, and the change of scenery is having a ripple effect, obviously. But more and more I have heard of teams that I would not expect it, who are actively choosing, we'll just play 9 games. Because the only people available to play are people that we don't want to play. And That's odd to me for two reasons. I think that, and we've talked about future scheduling and realign. We talked about some of that stuff before, but I would net if I'm told, man, football is a hard sport, and at you only get guaranteed 10 games. You're not guaranteed anything else before the season starts. You're guaranteed 10 games. To actively choose, well, I'm just going to play 9 because of X, Y, and Z, to me is crazy. I'm not saying that they're bad coaches. These are some of the people doing it are traditional winners. They are strong programs, and they have been put in situations for whatever reason that they can't get a game that they think is a step in the right direction for their program, because the only teams left to play are twice their size, 3 times their size, or have, XYZ advantage from a facilities and budget standpoint. And I understand that. I have just not been in the situation as a schedule maker to have to make that decision. It also this time around has raised the question in my mind of am I approaching this the right way? The 2 main times that I've had to do this, during my first year at Rivercrest, getting ready for that second season, I was making that schedule. And then during the first year at Mount Vernon, making that schedule for season 2. And the way that I've approached it is I've tried to be as proactive as possible, lock this thing down before, so that way I have a fallback plan if we end up needing this number of games versus this number of games. But for the most part, I'm mainly locked in. And what I'm looking for is obviously competitive environments to where our kids we can go learn what we need to learn if we're young, or we can solidify what we need to solidify if we're veteran. And we can be tested in one way or another. Every game needs to serve a purpose outside of just, hey, I think we can beat them. And I don't know if right, wrong, or indifferent, everybody has their reasoning. But we're playing 2 schools bigger than us and 2 schools smaller than us. And my thought process there is each school has something that we can gain from, that we can learn from. And each school has something, I think, that works to a strength in our situation as we approach this new version of who we're going to be. And I don't know if we could learn everything that we needed to learn if we would have said, well, we're just going to play 9 because of this person and that person not being available. Again, I'm not saying people are doing it wrong. I'm just saying I haven't been in that situation, so I can't really speak on it. It's one that would scare me because of how limited games are. I remember earlier this year in the 25 season, weather became a big factor. I believe it was week 2. A lot of games started being moved, and you're so early in the season that it's a non-district game. It doesn't affect playoffs. It doesn't affect this. It doesn't affect that. And so a lot of games got canceled. And we were fortunate enough to where we got most of the game in, and we had to call it because of weather. And, we didn't want to push it to 2:00 in the morning and have this team have to drive all the way back, because fortunately it was in Mount Vernon. But I was scared to death of losing that game because we needed that game. That was going to be my 4th competitive environment with this football team, if you count the scrimmages, which are, a whole nother can of worms. And it was just something that I would not have been quick to pull the trigger of, hey, let's just chunk deuce and call it, because we needed that competitive environment. We had things that we were still trying to learn. So if I'm that scared to do it in game or in week, I would be scared to death of putting myself in a situation of having to do it months and months in advance. Because there reaches a certain point where schedules are schedules, and guys get it. You're in the state of Texas, you're in a 2-year agreement. So it's not like it's going to, and I know that Oklahoma and Arkansas and Louisiana, it's not that way, because I've had conversations and worked with guys who coached at schools that played an Arkansas high school or played an Oklahoma high school. And those are the shuffles that they have to make. They're either trying to convince those guys like, hey man, I really need to lock this in for a 2-year thing. Or they're saying, okay, I understand that, like, I'm going to get them this year, but like, there's a high probability if we win, we're not going to get them next year. So I got to have a backup plan. And it's getting to the point. I think that the more proactive that you can be, the better off that you're going to be, because I found out pretty quick how early you got to start planning certain aspects of this, and I've tried to be way out 9, 10, 15 months ahead of realignment to try and make sure that we've got a fighting chance to be where we need to be, and get all 10 of those games that we are guaranteed. Side note to that, I think that it's on the scrimmage note. I would hate to be in a situation, because again, we're in these the cycle of the state of Texas is 2-year agreements. And I would hate to be in a situation or take over a situation where, again, it's so limited. You only get 2 scrimmages and you only get 10 games. To make a decision to pull one of those away from not necessarily your kids, but to cancel on somebody, I think paints you into an interesting corner of choice, especially when it comes to scrimmages, because they don't count. While you may be able to quickly find a backup plan or alternative for your kids, you have to remember that your decision isn't just affecting the however many kids in your program, but it's affecting that program over there too, that they had an expectation and you altered their reality, and you're not really feeling the ripple effect because you went ahead and got a back burner set up. And I think that it's a little too flippant and easy for people to do that. I've talked about it on here before, the ability to verbally agree to something, and then in 48 hours or 2 weeks or 6 months after coming to that agreement, and this person has worked on something else and they've told no to other people because you had already said yes to them, and then to change your mind without any legitimacy as far as reasoning or without any consequences of actions. I think that it's something that I probably take too personal, and I understand that. And, whatever, you can judge me for that all you want. But I think it's crazy that someone would say, hey, can we play you? And then go, actually, we're not going to do that because I found an easier game. I think that's insane. I think that if you're the pursuer, right? If you're going to spend the money, if you're going to go buy the flowers, if you're going to get the movie tickets, and you're going to ask the girl out on a date, why on God's green earth would you be the one to cancel? At least let her stand you up because you followed through. I don't know. That's a whole nother topic and can of worms. But it's just something that I think that has become, it's more and more on my radar these days because of how doing the head coach, the AD aspect of this job more and more. And I think it's something that I don't know if necessarily the UIL or the governing body needs to get involved in, but I would love to see some balance and some sort of way that we can ensure every kid gets the guaranteed 9 games that they're promised, from a scheduling standpoint. And then B, I think there's got to be some sort of accountability for anybody that reaches, hey, can we play you? Yes. Just kidding. This smaller school said they could only play me this week, so screw you guys. Go find another game, even though I called you. Recently, it's not super breaking news. Obviously, it's been a couple days, but the NCAA coming out and just going head on into their mutation into a minor league NFL has released their knee covering rule. Players will be required to cover their legs from their kneecaps down to the top of their cleats, which is, if you've talked to anybody that spent any time in the NFL, the most annoying aspect of game days in the NFL is the equipment or the jersey uniform Nazi. I think that this rule is very telling because it's right. The way that it's going to be enforced because of how the NCAA is set up is it's going to be enforced through penalties, which the obvious connection to that is if these things stack, they're just going to be fined by their school. So it's just one step into becoming a minor league system and operating like the NFL. And none of this should surprise anybody, because some conversations that I've had with some people that will remain anonymous and unnamed are that the NFL is very annoyed with the current state of college football because of the people it's producing. And if you think that doesn't apply to us because I coach high school football. It is a direct correlation that environment matters, culture matters, and standards matter, because we can talk ad nauseum about NIL and this, that, and the other, but the bare bones of it is the as the landscape changed, the expectation changed. It became monetarily driven. It became very corporate-esque. The relational aspect of the game has diminished at the college level, and they may not like hearing that, but it's true. And I know that there are some places the staffs are fighting tooth and nail to hold on to that relational aspect. But when I talk to a group of 5 assistant coach and he talks about we have 30% turnover after the last regular season game and we have 30% turnover after our spring football concludes, that's insane. You're losing the top 15% to a better situation, and you're essentially cutting the bottom 15% to bring in somebody that can be more competitive, because now that money's involved in transfers, you can do those type of things. You don't have to look mom in the eye and say, no matter what, your son's going to have 4 years to be here and graduate. What he does with that is on him. You don't have to make those, you don't have to have those conversations anymore. And that's crazy and it sucks, but it's now created an environment where players operate under the impression that they dictate the environment. If there's things that they don't want to do, as long as they can perform on game day, they don't have to. And they think that that correlates perfectly to the NFL. And the harsh reality of it is the vast majority of the NFL does not operate that way. You have stories that we hear about this person holding out and this person limiting practice and this person doing this. But for every one of those is 17 other guys who know they can get cut any Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, and they can be flown across the country to sign to a P squad with somebody else and have to sign another apartment lease and sell all their furniture that they just bought at IKEA. They operate with that fear right behind them. And the environment of college football now is creating more and more players. I'm purposely avoiding the word entitlement, but it's because entitlement to me is used in a way that there's nothing about your world that warrants your expectations. But their world is creating those expectations because that's the way it's operating. And the harsh reality of it is, the quote that I heard is that the first and second round talent they're producing has semi-pro work ethic. These guys come in, think that they can dictate how much they work. They can dictate how many reps they're going to take on the days that they do practice. And the percentages of snaps played by first and second round draft picks is on a decline. And you're seeing more and more snaps played by 6th, 7th, and free agents, because those guys understand, not because of anything that there's a stigma that comes with a 6th and 7th round draft pick that's very apparent. And they're working through that, where this stigma, the stereotype that's attached to a first and second round draft pick is that of, you're already invested. So I know I'm here. I'm going to dictate certain aspects of the terms of this working agreement. And the NFL is the owners have reached a point where they had voiced to certain people they were going to get involved if things didn't start to change. And I think that this rule is a crawling point towards walking down that path. Okay, if it's going to be all about money, we're going to take your money. If you guys think that you're pro players, we're going to treat you like pro players. We're going to tell you what you can wear, when you can wear it. The next step is going to be limitations on cleats. It's going to be, I'll never forget when the kid from Virginia Tech runs a touchdown and he's wearing a Rolex, right? Those type of things. This is a step to total control of game day aspects by the NCAA. Okay, we can't control your transfer policy. We can't control your NIL, but you know what we can control? Anything that falls under the rules and regulations of in competition. So they're going to maximize that. And if you don't like it, then you shouldn't have let the genie out of the bottle. So this is the world that we're in. You either get on board or get out of the way. Had a coach who I've known for going on 18 years, who brought up a situation, just curiosity. Have you had to deal with it? What did you do? And I think it poses a question that hopefully gets dialogue started with some of y'all. But the situation was, it's twofold. How do you fight the dinner table battle without being demeaning towards families? And how do you fight the bad seed in your field house? And the best advice that I could give on it was the dinner table battle. I have the way that I approach it. I have the technique that I use. I don't know if it's that good. I know that when I've implemented it, it's been extremely effective. And the correlation was, among other things, we did this, we were more successful. To me, that means it worked. Whether we were successful despite of it because it didn't work, it made things worse, I don't know. But I think general parent meetings at the beginning of your school year or season are absolutely vital. I think that accountability towards parents, when made explicit, has so much impact than when it's implicitly implied. We as adults, we as coaches operate under the impression that you understand this is my career, and professionally, I am invested in doing what is best for the program and the kids. We assume that everybody understands that. And we also acknowledge there's the crazies who, run the ball. Why does he keep running the same play? We know those people exist. Those people don't matter. They're just loud. But the assumption that every parent believes that and understands that has to be thrown out the window, because if they don't hear those expectations, then they're going to fill in the blanks. They're going to write their own expectations that they think you have for their kid and the program itself. So what I did in my second year at Rivercrest, and I will do in my second year at Mount Vernon, is we will have a parent meeting, and I will sit them down and I will say, you, the parent, this is your responsibility. If your kid's going to be in this program and you're going to tell me we entrust our child with you, here's your job. Here's your homework. It's not due until the end of the season. Your job is to hold them accountable to being on time and being disciplined. Your job is to support them in the ways that you want us to support you. Sign up for the freaking concession stand. Show up and be loud, and understand that when your kid comes home and says, Coach so-and-so did this and it was hard, is to say, there's got to be a reason. And if you don't understand what it is, go ask. It is not to sit there and plant seeds of doubt and plant seeds of insecurity and indiscretion and allow them to foster and fester within your locker room and your program. When you say that to a parent, it becomes so much harder for them to do the opposite. Because now, when something's not going right with Timmy and we sit down in my office and you raise your concerns, and I look you in the eye and I go, what did I tell you at the beginning of August? I said A, B, and C. And I said I needed you to do your job, which was D, E, and F. Which one of these failed in this process that led us to this situation? Because I have never been somebody, right, wrong, or indifferent, where I would much rather be as proactive as possible, because reactive is not long-term. If I'm and it applies to this situation, it applies to game day situations, it applies to Sunday staff meetings, it applies to Thursday walkthroughs. If I am reactive, then the environment controls me. If I am proactive, I am preparing for any and every environment. And I think parent conversations are the exact same way. I don't just lead it with, you better do this and you better do that. I lead that with, I love each and every kid that walks in our door and says they want to be a part of something. And I want them to have a role and feel like they are a part of this, that they are contributing to our successes. I want them to have that. But I will not create a fake environment if they're not going to do what is expected. And on top of that, I will not condone any type of undermining or undercutting. I have yet to be in a situation where that stance has caught me in trouble, but I know that they exist. I also feel strong enough and confident enough in my ability to do my job and who I am as a person and as a leader of young men to not really care. And I know that I have upset parents. I know that I have frustrated parents. I know that there have been parents that have wanted me fired and said out loud they were going to get me fired, but they haven't yet. So I must be doing more right than wrong. And if and when that day does come that the parent wins and they get me, I know that I am a strong enough Christian and I am a strong enough coach that I'll be okay, because I'm not going to bend on those things. And I heard a coach, I can't remember who it was, but he spoke about great leadership, and he said that great leaders cannot run from conflict. They cannot. That doesn't mean they have to be conflict driven. They don't have to seek it out. But if you are avoiding it, then you are fostering it within your walls. And unresolved conflict will tear down any house. It will. And to me, if I can proactively address a potential conflict that may come up based off of emotion, if I can do that weeks or months before it ever has a situation where it could rear its head, then I'm setting myself up for success. And I'm also putting myself in a situation where I can go, but when we set these kids down and they signed their athletic contract and they said that they wanted to be a part of our program, part of that was, you're under 18, your parent needs to sign at this part of the paper, and they need to understand that by signing that, they're agreeing to this. So now we're in a breach of contract. Which one do you want to be? Okay, do you want to be mad or do you want to be a liar? You pick. So that may not be the best answer, but that's the approach that I have taken. I always think that I think that you can change kids when it comes to that. I think that you can change their mind, but you can't fight a two fronts war. You can't be investing everything in changing the kid if the kid's going to go home and get invested in to think the opposite. So as proactive as we can be in those situations, I think it's going to set us up to be a lot more successful. Last thing, again, just to reiterate, please make sure that you are following us on all social media platforms, X, Instagram, Facebook. I don't know if you can message on YouTube. I've never done that, but we're on there. Spread the word. Again, this is a new era of the Quick Six, one that I am extremely excited for and also deathly afraid of, because I don't have TK's expertise to just lean back and say, please carry this topic. But it's going to be fun. I want you guys to be as involved as you want to. I'm relying on you guys to give me material to carry this thing. I absolutely love doing this, and it is something that I look forward to. I am also going to exploit my small children more. The Chronicles of Parker will return, and I'm sure, especially as we are in the trenches of potty training with Bo, there will be Chronicles of Bo as well. So, welcome back. Another season of the Quick Six. Again, I apologize for the hiatus, but looking forward to it, and we will see you guys next time.